Shaun, if we've seen it once, we've seen it 1,000 times. We have a golfer come in, and he's actually doing the movements of the swing pretty well. They're just not quite synced up and moving in the right sequence to really start to maximize the consistency and distance that he delivers to the golf ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I think getting synced up in correct sequence is the one thing that separates like poor golfers from the better golfers, right?
Right, and when we talk about syncing, a lot of golfers will start to really get in their head and like, okay, so which muscle needs to go? Like, it needs to be way simpler than that. And we're gonna show you a drill here in this video to really force you to feel it as you're executing it, and I promise you won't have to burn any brain cells trying to figure out how to do it. Shaun, let's first talk about the things needed to produce consistency with the driver. The hardest club in the bag to hit, the least amount of loft.
Yeah, we can start with the most common, or the most important common denominator,
right.
I guess, is hitting the middle of the club face.
Yes.
Right? If you're not hitting the middle of the club face, all bets are off.
Right.
But there's a little bit more to it than that, because if your path of your club is off track, it makes it very difficult to do that. So if you're 2 out to in or 2 in to out, and don't have the correct kind of angle of attack into the ball, it's going to be very difficult to hit it consistently in the middle of the face.
That's not something you're going to adjust coming into the ball.
You can't do it. And you know, to tie that all together, if you're not in sync, or your arms and body aren't synced up through the swing, it makes it very difficult to swing the club on a consistent track, which in the end is what allows you to hit the middle of the face, which allows you to be consistent.
That's exactly right. So let's talk about ways where we see golfers kind of, even if they have a good synced up takeaway later part of the backswing, how they can kind of lose that sync and get out of sequence in the transition and downswing.
Yeah, so, you know, just to kind of give you a 10,000 foot view, if you'd hold that for a second, you know, the way we think about syncing things up is in the swing, and I'd go through this with every lesson, because over the years I think people have gotten into this idea that using the arms is bad. Right. And it's just not true, right? So in a golf swing, the arms, they absolutely need to swing, and they have to swing to be a good ball striker. And fast. So I can swing my arms this way without any body turn, because my shoulders have this range of motion, right? It's matching that up with this motion and learning to blend those together that makes a good looking, on playing, consistent golf swing. And those, if they get out of sync, where a lot of you have been taught to go to the top and then fire the hips and leave the arms up, or even spin from the top and not really do anything with the arms, I think that's where the
passive
issue,
arms.
Yeah, that's where the issue of not being synced up comes from, and that kills consistency.
Yeah, we've heard for a long time that you know, there's a certain sequence to when things move in the downswing, and we see, right, the downswing starts from the ground up, right, and the hips go first, and then the torso and all that. What's never really been talked about, and it's a shame, because that idea has really taken a lot of golf swings off the rails.
It took
and
mine
really
off the
hurt
rails.
a lot of golf swings, thinking, okay, I'm going to the top and I'm going to keep this back, leave the arms up, all that. The difference in time between when the hips go, torso goes, arm and club go, you're talking a few milliseconds. Yeah. Right? So for practical purposes, they all happen together. And if you were going to pull down on, say, a rope or a church bell, I think Sergio used to call it, or anything with some force, your body would make the movements necessary at the right time. You wouldn't go up here and go try to fire them and leave these up, or you wouldn't just go straight down like this, right? You would be some sort of athletic movement. And that's the sync that we're looking for in the golf swing. Now, how you get that is where the magic lies, right? Yeah, exactly. And you know, part of it is, like Mike said, we have a bunch of other videos on the shifting and recentering, and once you do that, you can go ahead and hit. But a lot of people have a hard time grasping it with a golf club in their hand, so we need something they can do without a golf club so they can start to feel the movements in the correct order. That's right. So let's hop into gears. We're going to show you how tight of a time window all of this stuff happens, and how quickly the acceleration needs to happen so you can start not only hit it consistently, but a long way on top of it. We're going to look at 3 different multiple PGA Tour winners so you can see how much the hips, shoulders, and arms separate in transition from backswing to downswing.
We chose these three players because they're all excellent drivers of the ball, and they also represent different skill levels with regards to rotation. One's a low rotational golfer, one's kind of a middle rotational golfer, and one's a high rotational golfer. Now let me quickly describe what you're seeing here on the screen. At the top of the screen is the timeline for each golfer's swing. The blue section is the backswing, with the green section being the downswing. Separation at max is how much separation there is between the hips and shoulders when the hips have reached their maximum rotation in the backswing. Separation at top is how much separation there is between the hips and shoulders at the top of the golf swing. The top of the golf swing is defined by when the club changes direction. Left arm is the separation between the shoulders and hips at the point in the downswing when the golfer's left arm is moving faster than the pelvis, the rib cage, and the club. MS just stands for milliseconds. It's the time it takes each golfer to complete this entire sequence. The first player you're seeing here is our low rotational golfer. We'll stop him right here when his hips have reached their max rotation in the backswing, which pretty much always happens before the club changes direction. As you can see, the separation here between his hips and shoulders is roughly 43 degrees. As he moves to the top, we'll leave a red ghost behind so you can see where this sequence starts. And here at the top, his separation is still 43 degrees. This always surprises golfers when they see this because it goes against their idea of these great players firing their hips to start the downswing. And while his hips did technically start first, the amount was less than half a degree. Practically speaking, the hips and shoulders started down at the same time. Now let's see how far into the downswing he gets before his left arm is moving the fastest. It happens right here, which is very early in the downswing. To put this in perspective time-wise, this whole process here took 100 milliseconds of time. And 100 milliseconds is the time interval it takes this Ferrari FXX to change its gears. Good luck if you're trying to move your hips first, then your torso, and then your arms like the different stages of a rocket. There simply isn't enough time to consciously do all that. As we look at our second golfer here, you'll notice he has the ability to create a bit more separation when he reaches his max hip rotation at this point in his backswing. He's at 66 degrees of separation, which is about 20 degrees more than what we just saw from our first golfer. As he moves to the top, he actually loses a degree. So unlike our first tour winner, this golfer did not technically start the sequence with his hips. But again, the amount is so insignificant that in practical terms, the hips and shoulders start down together. And here he is when his left arm is moving the fastest. For him, this entire sequence took just 66 milliseconds to complete. And again, that's a pretty darn small window of time. Now let's look at our final golfer. This is our high rotational player. As he moves to his max hip rotation, you can see he creates an impressive 87 degree difference between his hips and shoulders. Now, this is not normal. This isn't something most normal humans can do, nor is it at all necessary to do to play at a very high level of golf as you're seeing here. But nonetheless, it's still very impressive. As he moves to the top, he increases that separation by 5 degrees. For reference, the 1 minute hand on a clock is 6 degrees. So 5 degrees still isn't a lot, but it's a lot less than what we see many of our amateur clients trying to do in their swings. And like we saw with our first two golfers, his left arm is moving the fastest very early in the downswing, with his entire sequence taking just 90 milliseconds to complete. So the takeaways here would be, even in extreme cases, there is very little separation, if any, between when the hips start down and when the shoulders start down. And then very early in the downswing, just 35 milliseconds into the downswing on average with these three golfers, the left arm is accelerating early and fast right at the start of the downswing.
So we've got Shaun now here for our drill, and he's got a, how much is that?
It's not heavy. It's 4. A little bit heavier can be good depending on how much weight you really want to use, but this is fine just to feel it.
A 4-pound medicine ball, something kind of basketball size. I've even seen a lot of guys use basketballs.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do is start to really kind of see how the body responds to the force that this ball is putting on it. I think you're going to find that it's much more athletic to do it, kind of reverse engineer this.
Yeah, so I like to use something with a little bit of weight because the reason, I'm going to show you here in a minute, because you need to be able to support the weight of this ball. So the idea is to swing this ball back and through in kind of a constant motion, right? And what you'll find is to do it correctly and support the weight of the ball, the arms have to work down in front of me here as I'm making the downswing. Right, so as I go to the top and just fire my hips, this ball actually gets almost too heavy to support, and I have to almost labor to get it through.
You'll feel a completely different set of muscles
Yeah.
to try to swing that through.
And a lot of times I'll give this to someone and they'll try to throw it and they'll go like this and they'll throw it off the wall. Yeah. You want to be able to go kind of in sync with the arms and the body, and I could throw this easily down the target line, right? Instead of firing my hips out this way. And it does get really heavy. So you get a sense of the arms working down in front of you as you're making your pivot. And when you do that, it ends up becoming a lot more consistent through the ball because you're not having to play catch up with your hands and arms.
You'll see it look completely different. And if you don't have a medicine ball, you can use like a really light 2-3 pound kettlebell.
Yeah.
Something with a handle on it. And you touched on something there that was really important. That was, you want to get it swinging.
Yeah.
So let me see you do that again. I know it's nice and cool out here to be swinging a medicine ball.
It's all good.
So we're going to get it started on the through side and really start to develop some flow and rhythm to this.
Yeah, I feel it in my left heel, right heel, right heel. And the trick here is to get some arm swing.
Yes.
If I did it with no arm swing and just try to fire my body, this would get really awkward.
It would be tough to keep that motion going.
Yeah, it would. This thing will teach you a lot about the swing if you just go ahead and do it kind of not slow, but get it moving in a rhythmic kind of manner, right?
Exactly right, yeah.
So, you know, and what I would do, if I was going to hit some balls here and try to work on this, I would do a few with the medicine ball and then try to have that same feeling, but don't try to kill it. I'm going to try to have that same feeling, just kind of chip one out there and just have the feeling that my arms start working down in front of me instead of spinning out, which a lot of you do, and get it behind you, and then all bets are off because you really do have to overuse the hands at that point.
Yeah, if you're finding driving to be inconsistent for you, this is a great drill to really kind of recenter these movements. And if you're hitting it well, it's also a great drill for maintenance.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really no bad time to use this drill, but it's definitely something you want to use to get your swing back on track, start to find more fairways so you can take advantage of these longer irons and hit the ball closer to the hole. Score a little bit better next time you go play.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did enjoy it, go ahead and give it a like. Also, if you have any questions about today's video or you have an idea of a video that you want us to shoot, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. We read every single comment. We also respond to the comments. So again, leave us a comment if you have any questions or there's anything you'd like to see. Now, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button. We have videos coming out every single week and we don't want you to miss one. So by clicking subscribe, that ensures you're notified right away when a new video comes out. And hey, if you want to add instant distance to your drive, and we all do, everybody wants more distance, go ahead and click the link in the pinned comment below. You're going to see a link. Click on it. It's going to take you to a page. You're going to enter your name and email address. We're going to send you an email where you're going to get access to instant distance, which is a video training that we put out. We know it's going to help you. We know we're going to see you farther down the fairway.